Our World Has Ended is the most recent visual novel published and released by PQube Games, who graciously provided the code for this review. The game was developed by Red Entertainment. Releasing in May of 2019 for North America on PC, PS4, and Nintendo Switch, we're looking at the PlayStation 4 version today. But not before I swing this quick offer your way. Have you ever tried to purchase games from the Japanese Nintendo eShop or Japan's PSN but ran into trouble adding foreign funds to your account? This is where Japan Code Supply comes in. JapanCodeSupply.com is your one-stop shop for all your gaming-related foreign digital currency needs. Simply find the system you're looking to buy for, the amount you need, and make your purchase. After payment, Japan Code Supply sends you a code for you to redeem on the platform of your choice, and voila, you got money. If you're already a member there, use promo code TARKS at checkout to save $3 on your next purchase. If you've never been to Japan Code Supply, give it a check and keep that promo code in mind. That's promo code TARKS to save $3 off your next purchase. I don't actually make any money off this deal, so this isn't really a sponsor, but they reached out to me and gave me this opportunity to pass on some savings to you guys. And if I can get ways to save you guys money, I'm definitely gonna take it. Now let's get on with the video. Our World Has Ended is a game that definitely puts its story, its characters, and its sense of humor first, as mechanically there's not much here to talk about. The main story begins with our main character, Reggie, running tests on something called New World Goggles. These tests are being done on behalf of the company he works for part-time, a game development company called Judgment 7, which is made up of a small band of functionally dysfunctional friends. The tests that are underway use advanced AR technology to enhance the user perception of the world, adding more info into the things you're seeing, or even retexturing the world in real time. And yes, that means retexturing people to be in their swimsuits. When it comes to the humor in this game, sex is the topic of the hour, and the day, and the week, and the year. Anything can and will be turned into a sex joke here. For some people, this may get overbearing. We're talking green levels of perversion here, but honestly, I know it's unpopular, but I liked green. There was something really fun about how relentless and absurd it was, and the humor here was fun for me in the same way. After a brief run with the New World Goggles AR capabilities, something seems to glitch out, and Reiji sees a disturbing image. But what this image is beyond his ability to understand, and as players, we're left with the first crumb of this game's mystery. Were these visions of the future? Were they alternate realities? Footage from somewhere else in the world fed through the New World Goggles. This glitch is brief and doesn't dissuade Judgment 7 from continuing to use the New World Goggles, which leads us to where the story and the mystery really begin. When the members of Judgment 7 end their experiments for the day, they find themselves in a strange, almost surreal version of the world they already know. Only it's devoid of people. Streets loop like an old NES game trapping them into the city, and a monster is roaming the streets, stalking them around every corner. New questions arise to us as the player as we find ourselves wondering how the illusion of the looping street works. We find ourselves wondering where all the people went, what happened while Judgment 7 was plugged into the New World Goggles to make the city become like this. What the hell is the monster, and how do we all escape? This is where the mystery that will carry us through the rest of this 35-hour visual novel really begins. From here, the mystery explores all kinds of themes about AR and VR and toes the line of feeling a little bit too inspired by other popular visual novels like Steins Gate. Despite feeling inspired, however, it doesn't feel derivative. Our World Has Ended feels like a combination of enough things that it ends up being pretty unique on its own. Though the story definitely riffs on ideas already explored in Steins Gate, and goes so far into perverse comedy that I felt a green reference was necessary, and the whole Judgment 7 game developers thing feels like the anime New Game to me, I never quite seen all these elements combined like this before, so it does create something that, as a full package, is quite unique, even if the ingredients themselves aren't. Now, we'd be remiss to not at least look at the characters, but we're not going to get very deep on them, because for the most part they are tropes, but they are absolutely dialed up to the extreme, as is most things in this visual novel. Aside from Reiji, our main character, just about everybody is over the top. Though every male in this game has a perverse side, the actual resident pervert is Owari, who also happens to be the patriarch of Judgment 7. It was his idea, of course, to make the New World Goggles capable of retexturing people into their bathing suits. And as you'll find throughout the game, most of the things he coded for Judgment 7's video games have weird sexual sides to them, that often got cut from the final product. Iruka is probably my favorite of the main characters. He is the resident otaku who you can never really tell whether or not he believes in his delusions. Delusions that seem to indicate he may believe himself to be some sort of chosen one character in some kind of a shonen anime. But without a doubt, it's his voice acting that makes his character. All of the voice acting in this game is great, despite being Japanese only. It is nearly fully voiced, but Iruka takes the cake. His absolute over-the-top, shouting left, right, and center never got old to me. Asano is the girl I'd consider to be the best girl. She's the resident tomboy with the soft side. She likes girly things but feels out of place with them. I feel like she's the best character for our MC to end up with, and her backstory is quite the endearing one. Unfortunately, she's not who I ended up with in the end in this game, but we'll get on that later. Natsumi is the resident shut-in, a quiet girl who acts cold and dark and keeps herself distant from her peers. Tatiana is the obligatory lolly character who from time to time is treated a bit uncomfortably, but as somebody who's not into that sort of thing, I was happy to see they didn't go as hard in on it as they could have. Tatiana is a sweet character, a child genius whose central conflict comes directly from her responsibility as a genius and how many people want her for her prized brain. Yuno is the character I feel most players will be going after. A lovable airhead who sees no problem with being close to the guys. Not because she thinks it's fun to rub up on her male counterparts or anything, but because she's too simple to realize what she's doing. But like every other character, she has a second side to her that does add a lot of depth to her character. Although everybody in this game is a massively over-the-top trope, they gradually fill out each character's background, and most of them have some pretty deep and kind of emotionally moving stories. At times, these emotional backstories end up as great explanations for the surface-level characters we often see them as. Each character also has their own ending, and what ending you'll get is decided by the questions you answer along the way. When asked a question during slow times, you'll get a list of responses to choose from, and at more hectic times, you need to pick your responses quickly from a list of non-repeating scrolling choices. Every answer feeds into an affinity system assigning points to a character's rank. On the game's menu, you can see which 3 characters are in the lead for having the highest affinity. If a character portrait has a gray background, you've not yet hit their ending. If it's colored in, you have. When I play these games, I generally always try to be nice to everybody, and sadly, this always ends up putting me on character routes I just don't want to be on. I just don't really have it in me to be the bad guy if I don't have to. As such, much to my chagrin, I got the lollies ending. For the record, Asano is best girl. These questions are about the only actual gameplay mechanic in Our World Is Ended, and aside from a few lines of dialogue and a bonus ending scene, they don't actually change very much. So in terms of writing, sure, the game might be a bit all over the place, but in its 30-hour runtime, I think it has plenty of space for all of it and uses it well. The sex jokes are nearly non-stop, but when it comes time to do something serious and break the character tropes that typically enhance the writing through their absurdity, it knows how to dial back on the inappropriate humor and focus on giving you a different kind of emotional reaction. The mystery of the game ends up going a lot of places. Some kind of predictable, but it never really feels like it isn't earning what it's trying to do. If I had any complaints about the writing at all though, it's that it suffers from a common visual novel and JRPG problem, where they over-explain things. Simple concepts get dragged out to 5 or 10 minute conversations. Long bouts of conversation often result in very little actually being said. And from time to time, this causes the story to feel like it's not developing at a great pace. I do feel a lot of fat could be shaved off the script and that a shorter runtime could actually help the experience. The only other writing issue I had is actually a technical one, and that comes in the translation. Given the scope of the game, I'd say the translation is certainly passable, but it is a little bit below par. Typos go from few and far between to random chunks where they're quite frequent. At times, they're just words with missing or double-stroked letters. At other times, it'll be a sentence missing a small word, where something like, "I need to go to the store" will be written as, "I need to go the store." However, I only encountered one instance where this resulted in something extreme enough that I couldn't immediately tell what it was trying to say. Towards the end of the game, I hit the start button to see if there was a normal pause. Well, there is no pause in this game, so I instead discovered the skip scene window. And as it reads, do you want to skip to a next choice or the start of a next chapter? If you have tuned skip unread text mode is on, skip to unread text. So yeah, there is that. But for what it's worth, that was literally the only translation issue that gave me any trouble whatsoever. Otherwise, I really liked the art style in this game. It's got a really nice soft color palette and the character models look like watercolors. And the backgrounds are just wonderfully created, as they should be given they are referenced from real places. The music in the game I didn't care for too much at first, but as it went along it grew on me more and more. From the fun tunes where the main hook sounds kind of like the can-can, to more ominous tunes with bass lines that make me wish I excelled at the bass more than the guitar. I think the OST gives a lot to love for those willing to listen. The game contains around 60 event CGs and 27 original songs. Overall, I'm quite happy with it. Yes, it wears its inspiration on its sleeve, but still manages to be original despite it. There is a bit too much fluff, and it can make some scenes overstay their welcome. But the humor, the characters, and the mystery all ended up being worth the time for me in the end. If you're looking for a visual novel to kill a good 35 hours with on a single playthrough, and you can look past the similarities it may bear to its peers, I think Our World Has Ended will do you just fine. And that's all I'm gonna say on it. Thanks again PQube for the review code, and thanks Japan Code Supply for providing the promo code. If you guys liked this video or found it useful at all, you know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you can. Links to socials are in the description. If you really like the content, consider supporting the show on Patreon. It was, after all, Patreon who requested this video. So as always, folks, thanks for watching.